welcome to this very, very exciting panel, Women in Healthcare. My name is Alejandra Menchon Ismaciel Nunez. I'm a director at FrontierView, and I'll be moderating the panel today. I am extremely excited to have this opportunity to be here today, not only because this is a topic that obviously I can relate to, but also it's a connected thread, right? It doesn't matter the industry, the gender, your role. It's really a topic that connects us all, and it's something that is very relevant today. But also, it is one of those rare moments that we have the opportunity to have in a room or virtual room in this time and age, right? The opportunity to have such an inspiring and talented group of women leaders. I cannot be more excited to be here, as I already mentioned. So I want to welcome Florencia Dabel, who is the Vice President and General Manager for Latin America at BMS. Luli de Samper, thank you, Florencia. Luli de Samper, who is the Vice President for Latin America at Johnson & Johnson Medical Devices. Welcome, Luli. Maria Johnson, who is the Vice President for Channels at Boston Scientific for Latin America as well. Sandra Cifuentes, who is the area head for Latin America at Astellas Pharma. And last but not least, Mariana Tolovi, who is the Vice President and General Manager for Edwards Life Sciences. Welcome all. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share a little bit about your experiences with us. And looking forward to the conversation. I have had the opportunity to support you all through my company at FrontierView, and that has allowed me the privilege to get to know you a little bit better as an executive. But I have done that in an individual basis. And something really curious happened a couple of days ago where we had the opportunity to gather as a group. And you might not have noticed it, but for me, it was so exciting. I felt such a sense of community, of collaboration, of empowerment at the same time. And it was just great to witness that. And as I was thinking, what do I want the audience today to take from this panel? It was exactly that. I want them to have the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better and to learn from you. After all, this was really the objective of the panel today. So, because not only are you role models for us, for all of us, really, but you also have had the opportunity to pave the way for other women in leadership within the healthcare industry. So that's really what I want the audience to take today. And I'm very much looking forward to the discussion. For the audience, we will engage in a conversation really through the next hour, but we will have a few minutes at the end, probably 10 to 15 minutes, depending, to answer Q&A. So I encourage you and invite you as we go through the discussion, please send us your questions through the chat window you will have that you'll see on your screen, and we'll do everything we can to answer most of the questions towards the end. So thank you again, and I'm gonna go straight in. I could be asking, an hour is not enough to be talking to each of you, so I'm gonna go straight in and make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate and share your experiences. So my first question of the day is gonna be precisely directly related to the topic, women in healthcare. So there are studies that show that specifically in the healthcare industry, women are 9 times more likely to be, more likely than men to be the only gender in the room. So I want to understand from your perspective, has this been the case for you? What is your experience? And also, how has been your journey to become a woman in leadership? So I want to start with you, Florencia, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you, Maciel. And I'm really excited to be part of the panel. And as you said, I feel the sense, the spirit of this great community. Your question brings me back to 2013. It was 8 years ago when I took the position of general manager for Argentina at Bristol Myers Squibb. And I remember that day as if it were today. I had to participate in the first meeting in the trade association, in the local trade association. And I remember myself entering that big room, seeing a long table full of men, only one woman in the corner, sitting in the corner. And I wanted to be invisible and run away from there at the very beginning, even though I was used to participate in several meetings with a lot of men, and during my career, having more than 25 years at that time of a pharma career. At the beginning, I was paralyzed. I couldn't say a word in the first meeting. So that was 8 years ago. And after that meeting, I tried to have advocates. I tried to reinforce and to be more confident. So in the second meeting, it was another story. It was completely different. I could finally speak up, sit at the center of the table, and try to push to have a protagonist in that table. But I would say that still we have a great talent and a big talent in the pharma companies. We have one of the research from Insider shows that we have 92% of CEO are men in the biopharma and pharma companies. So still we have a lot of women in the director level and in the functional areas seated at the leadership team meetings, but we need more women seated at the tables. So we have some markets like Argentina, Mexico, and even in LATAM, we have seen more women being promoted as CEO of the companies. But of course that we still have a long way to go.
No, absolutely, Florencia. And that's something that I get to see, frankly, in the C-level executives that we have as well. But great to hear that at least at the director level, we're increasing the numbers. So that's a great outcome to look at the future. Maria, I wonder if you had a similar experience. I would love to hear from you as well regarding this subject.
It was, first of all, I'm honored to be here, and I am super honored. I feel like, you know, when you're at the Oscars and you're like, there's no way I'm going to win, but I'm with really, really top performers. Not that I've ever been in an Oscar, but thank you. And I plan on maintaining this network. I, like you, noticed that camaraderie and also that shared kind of energy when we met the other day. So thank you, Marcial, for bringing us all together. It's funny because when you asked that question, I was the only woman when I first came out of college in an audit function within a big company. I was the only woman that ever worked on international integration of joint ventures that we had purchased. They actually sent me for cultural training when I was the only woman going to Japan. I was the only woman on a manufacturing council, and I was the first female made president of an international subsidiary. So the only reason I know this is because you sent me the question, because I think that I have spent most of my career with a lot of gratitude, but also a little bit oblivious that I was the only woman in the room. In part, I get it, you know, Florencia, yeah, but it's in any of those big meetings. I remember the first time I was at the EC, you almost feel like we're at our executive committee meeting.
Yes.
You're like, I'm here with like very important people. Gender aside, you know, but it is something, like you say, I think that that something we all have very much in common is paying it forward. If there's something that I bet every one of us in our careers, even though we had those only women in the room kind of situations, we always try to bring other women up. We always try to give that opportunity. We're involved in organizations like Catalyst or Massachusetts Women or Watermark, where we try to make ourselves available. And where I you know, tongue in cheek laugh at being oblivious, I wasn't oblivious, but I did have an immense amount of gratitude to sponsors and mentors I've had in my life, and make a point of committing to always mentoring and coaching as many women and men, but women knowing that we need to mentor women as I can.
Yeah, no, that's a great topic, Maria, mentorship. I'm going to hold there because that is definitely something I want to discuss later on the conversation. And I think my takeaway from this is that for women in the industries, it's going to be like the first time it's going to be a little, what do I say, what I do? But the secret is be prepared and be present. Mm-hmm. The rest, you'll be able to overcome it. So,
and be your authentic self. It's really important to be your authentic self. Don't be what you think they want you to be. Be your very authentic self.
Yes. Yes. Gain confidence.
Absolutely, Florencia. Thank you so much. And I think that that really is a great transition to the other question I had for you. Perhaps Luli, Mariana, I would love to hear from your perspective. Considering everything we've discussed so far, what are some of the initiatives or ideas that companies could be introducing or doing to reduce the gender gap and really bringing more women into leaderships? Even though, to Florencia's point, that some of them are already in the director position, how do we take it to the next level and how do we bridge that gap? Luli, perhaps we can start with you.
Sure. And again, thank you, Maciel, so much for this invitation. It really is exciting to be, with these amazing women sitting in this conference and just talking about how we can continue to, like Maria said, pay forward and significantly reduce the gender gap. I think it begins with a very clear statement and agenda. This cannot be a by chance. This has to be very, very intentional. And when I think about it, you need to begin internally educating the organizations on the benefits of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because when our workforce reflects the diverse markets that we serve, we are better able to develop solutions to serve the needs of our customers. So it's not only the right thing to do, it makes actual business sense. And for you to get that going, you need to educate your organization. So I'll share some things that we've done at J&J. I work for Johnson & Johnson in the medical devices division, like Maciel said in the beginning, and we take gender really seriously. It's really interesting because when the company was founded in 1886, actually 8 of our 14 employees were women. And today, 47% of the over 130,000 employees we have in our organization are women, and 46% hold management positions or above. So we're not fully there, but we've come a pretty long way, and it is essential to our DNA. And when I think about, how do you continue to close that gap? This intentional agenda requires policies, it requires training, it requires employee resource groups, practices in talent acquisition, sponsorship programs, et cetera. So I just want to bring some experiences so that Mariana can also help contribute with the experience at Edwards. From a policy standpoint, we have implemented flexible work arrangements. As a result of the pandemic, we offer all sorts of alternatives like compressed work weeks, part-time work, unpaid leave. So all that will allow not only women, men and women, to have to manage the workload with their family requirements or their personal needs. We implemented globally 8 paid weeks of paternal leave so that spouses can provide support in the very challenging first weeks of childbirth. So think about it, this is a global policy and it benefits also, in cases of adoption. We provide mechanisms for women to ship their breast milk in case once they return from maternity leave, they have to go on a business trip. From a training perspective, we've embarked on all sorts of trainings from unconscious bias now to conscious inclusion. And the focus is really to eliminate bias and foster a more inclusive environment. And we have employee resource groups that are focused on driving advancement, inclusion, and community efforts, creating mentoring programs, networking forums, and intentionally bringing the men to the conversation. Because it can't be about women for women. It has to be about everybody for everybody. And so bringing men to the conversation is not only critical, but it's fundamental for them to help lead the change. We also have a program. So we have Women's Leadership and Inclusion, which is one of these employee resource groups. We also have a program that fosters women in STEM, which is called WISTEM 2D, in areas of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, manufacturing, and design. And the idea of this is that you can support women internally within the company, but also externally. providing programs all the way from girls to university to professional level, and leveraging a bunch of external partners like the Smithsonian Institute, et cetera. Another example is from talent acquisition. So the idea is that you have diverse slates of interviewers, and this way you reduce any bias during the interviewing process. And also being very, very intentional, and at the end, in the final slates, making sure that those slates are diverse. So again, it has to be intentional. It has to be organized. I think the final comment would be on sponsorship. Sponsorship, there's a global sponsorship program for women leaders. And these programs will help develop their relationship capital, expand their leadership awareness, understanding what it is that they need to succeed. So, you know, sponsorship is also another very key enabler to accelerate women advancement and close the gender gap. So, you know, I think we've advanced significantly, but we still have tons of work to do.
Yes, absolutely. Long way ahead of us. But it's great to hear about all those initiatives that you mentioned, really. That is fantastic that organizations such as J&J is taking those into account and starting to provide that support. And I want to talk about that in my next question. But before, I want to hear, Mariana, what are your thoughts as well?
Wow, I don't want to be repetitive, but I have to say I am so honored to be here, especially because when we spoke the other day, Maciel, and thank you for putting the group together, I noticed that one common thing we have in all of the leaders here is we used to be the first and the only in the room. But what we are committed, and everyone is committed, is we are not the last, right? That we bring more women to where we are, we pay it forward. So that's fills me with energy, because I think that's our responsibility as well, right? And I agree with everything that Luli says. Actually, it's an honor to be with her here, because she's kind of one of my sponsors in my career. I was 10 years in J&J with this excellent environment that you saw. So I'm a byproduct of that as well. So it means that the companies, they do have a responsibility into closing the gender gap in the society. But besides that, there are innumerous studies that already show that closing the gender gap, it's business smart, as we were saying. So we will have more success in our companies if we simply have more diversity. And if we don't, we will have less success than the average. You know, there is the famous McKinsey report. So I think we should start there. It's not only a societal issue, but it's just business savvy to do that, right? So this should be first a tone at the top. So leaders, men and women, should be absolutely engaged. That's what I have seen in many companies. And then from the companies that are very successful into having a more inclusion in terms of gender or any inclusion, what I saw from my experience is they approach it as a business project, as Luli was saying. It has to be like you approach any business important topic in the company. So you start with education, right? People need to understand why they need to do it, why it's wise, understand their unconscious bias. It needs to be at the first, or, you know, the priority topic of the agenda. So first thing is, you know, engage, communicate, and awareness. And the second thing on the successful companies, including Edwards, because we do measure everything, is, okay, let's make sure where we are and where we want to get. So how are we hiring? You know, what's the gender gap in hiring? How are we promoting and educating women? And how, when these women leave, why are they leaving? Do we have a difference in how many men leave and how many women leave? So we need to have those metrics so we understand and we study what's behind them. And then a business approach, right? If we have an issue in promoting women, so let's make sure they enroll, and let's make sure that there is no bias into the interviewers. And here, for instance, we need to have a slate that it's equally in gender numbers. We do have an employee resource group as well, which is common in most of the companies. But here, obviously, we provide education specifically for women leaders where they can develop. And one of the things that it was a first in the company that I was is we have a developmental group for VP levels. So then also we advance as global leaders, you know, so we are 31 in terms of vice presidents and -2, and we do have specific developmental for us. And I would say that besides communicate, have measures, and have plans, effective plans, secret sauce, have men joining the conversation, right? I mean, if men are most of the managers that will influence in the promotion and in the hiring, they need to understand the importance and their role to it. So it's not a conversation to have only among women. It's a conversation for humanity, I would say.
Fantastic answers to my question. I mean, it's a lot that you're doing, and it's so great to hear that companies such as Edwards, J&J, and everyone really here, Stellas, BMS, Boston Scientific, are really doing to do that. But I'm gonna continue the conversation on this topic and take it one next level. And I think one of the answers to that I'm gonna go ahead and say is getting men involved in the conversation, right? That's gonna be key. But then, what else? So, and I think Luli said a word that I think is super important. She said it has to be intentional. And then I heard the secret sauce. I heard about education, about policy, family, all these programs, sponsorship, and what I'm hearing is culture, really. It has to start.
Maciel, there's something that they both touched on that you can't forget, and that is that the leadership has to lead by example. It's not just including, and Mariana touched on it, I know all of our companies, all of these companies have exceptional leaders and leaders that walk the talk, not just talk about this. And it's general management. This is not women for women. This is not an HR project. This is general management owning it, and the executive leadership owning it and committing to it.
Maria, and you made a question for me actually, because that's what I was going with this. I mean, those are all super important, and what I was going with the topic of culture is culture. It has to start from within, and you need leadership that promotes this, and you need leadership that is accountable to this. So in companies that are perhaps this is not actually occurring right now, what are your thoughts, Sandra and Florencia, of what else can be done for those type of companies? And most importantly, going back, how do you make sure that leadership is accountable for this? And to Maria's point as well, very important.
Yeah, thank you so much for fostering this conversation, which I think is really, really important. Well, I think the most important thing, and I fully agree with Maria, is, this goes beyond policy, this goes beyond, working groups and so on. This goes to the promotion of a workplace that is really taking care of our people, right, of our employees, where we take care of their mental, their psychological, the physical well-being. And especially now after the pandemic, I think we need to be super empathic. We need to really listen our women, our people, our employees, but especially women. We had, just to give you some examples, we had one of our members, she was living alone and she needed some psychological support. But that only can be provided by us as Stellas if we hear, if we connect with people, if we knew that she was struggling with this. We had another employee and she was struggling. She's a mom of 2 small kids, and she was really, really having a very difficult, tough time. So again, you need to be empathic, right? And I told her, why don't you take some days off without any charge to vacation, without any charge to your days? Take some days off, arrange what is happening at home and move forward. So those are the things that only can happen and you can only provide when you are listening employees, right? And it comes with you, as Maria was mentioning, is you need to lead by example, you need to connect with people, and you can have the perfect policies, you can have, the best of the trainings and the cultural initiatives, But if you don't have leaders that truly care about people and truly care about their women, it's going to be very difficult. The other thing that we have implemented is mentoring programs, the safe emotions program. So we are trying to provide some psychological safeness spaces where our women can talk, they can connect, they can share the fears, they can share the good experiences, they can share the bad experiences and how they deal with those. So those safe emotions coffees are unstructured spaces, just to provide some spaces, some coffee spaces to talk. We have the Women in Action. We have the Stellar Girls. This is an important topic for us in Latin America. The Stellar Girls program is a program that we are running with the Stellar Foundation, where we take the young girls and we try to motivate them to go into the STEAM, explore the STEAM world. When you go, for example, to Mexico, only 9% of the young women, they are running or they are interested in STEM or in the STEM careers compared to 28% of men. So it is important to foster these type of conversations. And as a company, in the healthcare space, we have a big opportunity in Latin America because our young girls are not running for STEM careers. So we need to find spaces to motivate them. So I think that in all take us to, again, to the point. It's really to connect, it's really to listen, it's really to be empathic with our women and provide some spaces where they can feel safe. That to me is super important as a leader. I am trying to promote this with my leadership team, is have some spaces just to talk, just to make people feel safe, that they can raise their hand, they can express what they're struggling with.
Absolutely, Sandra. And to your point,
Sandra, can I just make a comment real quick? And Maria made that comment in a conversation earlier before the panel. I really commend you on your signature. In your signature, she has a phrase in her signature, her emails that I'm sorry,
highlighting the balanced life.
I loved it. I think I'm going to steal it.
Yeah. So maybe it says something to maybe you can say it, Sandra, what it is. But
yeah, I'm sending this email. Yeah, it is. I'm sending this email at a convenient time for me. Please feel free to reply at a convenient time for you. That's the message. And that came from a culture initiative that we have in Latin America. We have a cross-functional team in Latin America, and we have a culture initiative, and we bring this type of topics. And one of the topics is you cannot avoid people working on a Saturday, on a Sunday, and maybe that works for that people, right? Because they have the kids in the park with the husband, things like that. So we decided, okay, let's don't punish people because they're sending emails at night or on the weekends. Just be empathic with the phrase and make it very clear that this works for me, maybe not for you. Please reply whenever it's good for you.
Unless it's something really urgent, but in general, I think it's fantastic.
Yes. You don't feel forced to reply at the time you receive the email. So that's great. Good message.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to steal it, Sandra, before we go to Florencia.
I think right. That, at the end of the day, whether you're a man or a woman, balance is a very individual thing. I remember when I had just had my child, and Luli, I think you've got 5.
No, I have 4.
4. 4 or 5.
It's okay, normal, just 4.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I had my 1, that I would leave messages. I would send emails like when I got up at 2 o'clock to feed them. That worked for me. And I had a staff come and tell me that I was intimidating other staff members because they felt that they needed to answer at 2 o'clock in the morning. If I had your phrase, Sandra, I would have used this on. This is working for me. Reply when you can.
Please use it. Please use it. It's working very well for us. We have received very positive feedback. It's a LATAM initiative at Estelas, and it's working very well. So please feel free to use it.
Thank
you. Balance is a very individual thing, and it's
very personal.
It's personal, and we need to project that, and we need to communicate it so that people also recognize we respect their personal balance.
Yes, fully agree. I walk the talk, as you said.
Florencia, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, and Maciel, well, I think most of you refer to many initiatives that we also have at BMS at the company level. We have the ERG, as Luli said, that is BNOW, that is a group of a business group for women in the organization that is supported by men as well. And we work not only internally, but also externally, how we can shape the external environment, how we can impact the community. So just to be involved with other NGOs like Vital Voices or other NGOs who support women and young generations as well. So be mentors, sponsors. So, and this is part of the inclusive leadership strategy that we have in the organization. And a nice example that I would like to share, something that we have is for pregnant women, we have another woman that support them through the process, and when they have to return to work, they also support them during this journey. So I think also is somebody can understand you through the process that went through the same issues, the same concerns through the maternity leave. So I think it's a program that is working very well. So this is the buddy program for pregnant women. And regarding inclusive leadership, I want to share that I have had the honor to be part of the D&I Global Council, Commercial Global Council, and I'm been leading the inclusive leadership work stream at global level. And for me, it was a wonderful opportunity, but because it's completely different or aside of what I'm doing as Latin VP, and I have had the opportunity to work with different cultures, women from different parts of the world, understand different concerns, different perspectives, different views. And we have worked developing a playbook, an inclusive leadership playbook that we are planning to share it externally as well. So coming soon. And we focus on 3 pillars, some of them that were mentioned before. The first one is what we call the 3 Is. Enhance awareness. So we talk about unconscious bias, understand inclusivity, know more about inclusion, gender, not only gender, but all around diversity. The second one is about how we embed the communication strategy. So, and I would like to say that it's important for us that we lift other women. So we lift other women. So women empowering women, women supporting women, not only men supporting women or men supporting men. So women supporting women, we need more. And it's the way we communicate internally and also externally. It's like LinkedIn or reinforcing what other women are doing. So not being competitive, so being supportive to others. It's great to be competitive, but also it's important to be supportive. So communication and enhance a strong communication. So be confident about the way you communicate, be credible in the way you communicate in an inclusive way. And the last point is embrace, and I think it's key to embrace the ANA initiatives to be an inclusive leader, so that not only the ones that you have in the organization, but also the ones that you have in the external environment. And also ensure that you have, and it was mentioned before by Luli and Marian and the others, is how we ensure that you have diverse slates. And just to bring one example that I went through when we were looking for ATM in the organization, we had only 8% of the resumes came from women, 8%. So we don't have the problem only in the forming the diverse slates. We have the problem in an earlier stage. So that's an issue that we need. That's why it's so important to work not only internally, but also shaping the external environment. So I would say, like, the inclusive leadership should be a strategy, top-down strategy, and also bottom-up. So everybody and all layers involved.
Excellent way to frame that, Florencia, and to close that question. And something that I continuously hear from each of you, and I know for a fact that I think almost all of you have done this, is mentorship. Maria, you mentioned it first, and every one of you has already brought up to the conversation. I'm going to start with Maria and Luli, but I want to open this to all of you because I think it's an extremely, extremely large topic. Myself, I'm going to be vulnerable here and admit that I didn't learn the power of that support and mentorship until later stages of my career so far. And I wish I knew that before, you know. And I want to understand. I know all of you have been mentors at some point, and I wanna understand when people, other women like me, to hear you and understand why is this so important. Do you have a mentor in your career, and did it have an impact on your development? So Maria, I'll start with you since you brought it up early in the conversation, Luli, and then of course, if any of you, Mariana, Florencia, Sandra, wanna add to that, that'll be great.
Okay, I'll start for me first personally, and then I'll broaden it for women in general. And I'm going to start by saying I'm not going to just talk about mentors. I think that every professional should have mentors, should have sponsors, and should have what I call a personal board of directors. And the difference for me is a mentor. I do have a mentor. I have a mentor that I was very fortunate very early on, was very open, very diverse, is a man, and was CEO of a previous company and continues to be my mentor and has helped me through some of the hardest decisions in my professional life when I was going to change from finance to sales and general management, when I was going to change companies, when I was going to move to another country. So I think it's important. I also have female mentors. So I think it's important as a female, and there's that richness of what you can get from both males and females. Now, my male mentor was as oblivious as I was to being a female, to me being a female as well. Didn't treat me any differently or mentor me differently because I was female. And I do think that that is a secret sauce, as Mariana talks about, you know, not women for women, not doing stuff because of it's intentional, but you start with, what do you need as a professional? Not, you know, and then based on that, what does balance mean for you? What does this mean for your career? And I've been fortunate, and they've helped me throughout my career. I also have had sponsors. Florencia talked about that. And the difference between a mentor and a sponsor is when you do feel like the only woman in the room. And I've had projects where I was reporting to the CEO and COO that I had to get sponsors because some of the project points or some of the challenges were not going to be always accepted, or you had to manage people who don't always get along very well. So you kind of have to create those sponsors, and you do that networking. You know, you don't call people. You don't, where you do call people to ask them to be your mentor, and not enough people do that. So I would tell women who are on this call and listening to us, we like to mentor. You know, executive, whether you're a man,
great point, Maria.
And you're right. Surprised how many people are scared to, do you have time to mentor me? Can you mentor me? Ask them what you already have to know. What's the worst? Somebody tells you, I have so many mentees, I can't mentor you. But you never know. Ask. But
yes, speak up.
That was the question I had for you, Maria. Is it okay to just go up and say, I need a mentor? Can you be, I admire you.
Absolutely.
Can you be that person?
Yes, of course.
Because I feel like that's the biggest fear that a lot of people have, right? I mean,
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And any professional we all want to pay it forward. The biggest legacy that anybody in business, whether you're a man or a female, has is the people we bring in, the people we develop, and the people we leave behind. So mentoring is something that we love to do, and you should ask. Now, sponsorship, I think, is more you have to network. To me, you can't go up to someone and say, hey, can you sponsor me in this idea? I'm going to be pretending to the CEO. There's a little bit more work in sponsorship, but those are important as well. And I think that personal board of directors is important because you need the same way when we put together agile work teams, we want cross-functional representation. You should have on that board of directors, that personal board of directors, people that know you from different walks of life, and people who are willing to call bullshit, people who are willing to give you straight talk and say, hey, you know, you're drinking your own Kool-Aid, or, you know, maybe look at it this way. So to me, that personal board is that think tank that helps you with your personal brand as well. So I think all three of them are important, and they've all helped me. And one of my biggest commitments is to mentor and coach within Boston Scientific and within LATAM. I'm the executive sponsor of our Women's ERG. We have a very well-developed Women's ERG. We've got representation in every country through the Women's ERG. About 3 years ago, we started a leadership development program for high potential entry-level females. And after year one, which was awesome, we had guys saying, hey, why is it just girls? So now our entry-level high potential leadership program, which is a Harvard Business Review type program that meets, I think 3 times during the year, intensive with a field, no, I think 4 times, field visit included, sleepless nights, lots of reading and testing. It's something that people are like raising their hands and are going, I want to be included in that, whether they're male or female. So you have to pay it forward. Everybody on this panel, I am sure, and they all nodded their heads, are willing to pay it forward, and we are committed to doing so.
Right. Thank you so much, Maria. Luli, I'm gonna go back to you, and I wanna throw another question your way on this same subject. So Maria mentioned she had 2 mentors. Is it recommended also to have 1 or 2? Was that helpful? So just to add to you, Luli.
So look, I think that they're important. It's difficult to add on top of everything that Maria had said, but I do want to give better clarity on what mentorship is and what sponsorship is. And then I'll answer your question on the 2 or 1 or whatever. So when you are considering mentors, every employee should have a mentor, everyone. Because what mentors do is they support, they encourage you, they provide tips on how to navigate the organization. They're like confidential sounding boards for ideas or for difficulties or challenges or whatever. Mentors may speak for you in a performance evaluation, and so you know, everybody should have a mentor, and nobody should be, and particularly women who tend to be not as forward in expanding their network. That's, you know, generally what they try to do is they're done with work, they go home to try to get everything else fixed. And so they network less than most men. And so mentors can help in that trajectory. What is sponsorship? Sponsorship is very different, you know, and like Maria just mentioned, you know, it does require more active nurturing. Sponsorship is meritocratic. You have to earn to get a sponsor. And generally sponsors, you know, you obtain a sponsor when you have been identified as a high potential individual. Sponsorship is something that is reciprocal. So the sponsor and the sponsee, the sponsee is just as open and transparent with the sponsor as the sponsor should be with the sponsee. Sponsors champion movement, they champion promotion, they provide sponsees with opportunities for visibility, like stretch assignments or high priority projects or engagements, etc. So that's for a more select group of people, and a sponsor really goes out on a limb for you know, to accelerate your career. So it's important to have these two and understand the concepts, because sponsorship does require you to earn it. It is meritocratic. Now, personally, so should you have more than one? Absolutely. In fact, I've never had, growing up in my professional career, I didn't have like a formal mentoring program. Like, so Luli, you participate in this program and now you've been assigned this mentor. They have all been informal. So, and they have been superiors, they have been peers, they have been, you know, all sorts of people that sometimes you don't even know you have a mentor. And all of a sudden you start getting some of this, you know, guidance or support. And then you say, you know what, I can actually pressure test these ideas with so-and-so. So most of my mentors have been informal. And I've also had some very select sponsors. And those are people that go out on a limb for me. And they also tell me things much more candid, if you will. So, you know, the good and the bad. But when they come with candid feedback on the bad, that's when you really grow. Because you know, and it's all good, great, you feel good. But a true sponsor will come to you and will tell you, you know, where you, excuse my French, you know, where you screwed up, where you did not do well, and how you should have showed up differently and what you should be doing differently. And so I think it's important to have both, with a caveat that you need to earn your sponsors.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Masi, I've had two, I use that as an example, that have been around the longest, but you end up collecting mentors. So I've had a number of mentors, and most of them have been informal, not through a formal program. And Luli, you're right. I think that the feedback you get from sponsors, like you're saying, can be much more growth enhancing because they've got a vested interest, right? They're your sponsor. Sponsors are the ones that when they're talking about high potentials, they're saying, hey, take a look at this person, look at, and like you said, it's been earned. Look at what they did with this acquisition, look at what they did in this country, look at how they grew the business. So they want you to continue to grow, and they want you to continue to do things well, because there's kind of like that two-way relationship, as Ruby said.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I would add a third party that besides the sponsor and the mentor, that could be the sponsor as well. So because you can have mixed roles, you can have advocates as well. So you can have plenty of advocates, those people that speak about you in the organization. So, and independently of the position that they do have in the organization. So the sponsor can be your advocate, or you can have the sponsor and also advocates. And that I think is really important, to ensure that you have the advocates that will be seated at the right tables when they discuss about, for example, talent. So they bring your name to the table.
Yeah,
And one thing, Marcel, I would like to add is we are all thinking here, you know, how we can grow, but I strongly encourage all the women listening into how do they help other women to grow? How do you become advocate? How you can become, you know, a sponsor, because then you create just, you know, this virtual cycle by example, and people will notice you. We want to help people that help other people, right?
Yes.
So I think that's a good way also to get sponsors and advocates. It's just simply by doing it yourself to other women, right?
Great point, Mariana.
No, absolutely. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe it's been 50 minutes already.
Yeah.
I really wish we had more time. This is extremely exciting and very interesting, and we're learning a lot. I'm gonna go to my last question around the room. I want to, for each of you to have the opportunity, be mindful of the time to answer that question, because I think it's going to be extremely important to close this panel. And then if we have time, hopefully we can at least answer one or two questions from the audience if possible. But the question I have for you, and the one that I want to take away, is, what is the most impactful lesson that you have learned? What will you tell your younger self? And I know this is it's going to be probably the hardest questions I ask, but I think it's going to be such a good learning lesson for all of us who are listening, men and women, right? So I'm going to start with my screen. So Mariana, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, that's a hard one, huh? But quite honestly, what I would like to say is it's okay. You cannot be perfect in every single role you have. Just be less tough on yourself, be more generous with your own self. Sometimes you'll be better at being a wife if you wanted to be a wife. Sometimes you'll be better in being a friend or a mother. And sometimes you will simply be awful at it. And it's okay, because it's impossible. Because I remember seeing all these magazines about perfect CEOs that can cook and can dance and has a perfect body. That just doesn't exist. That's what I would like to tell myself. And it needs a village, honestly. It needs we cannot do it alone. You know, I need obviously men to be helping me, my family, and other women especially. So I would network much earlier in my career, not with an objective to grow, but an objective to learn and give back, you know. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mariana. Sandra, I would love to hear from you next.
Yeah, I had a similar one to Mariana, but I'm gonna go to my next one. That is, sometimes you need to look to your past to find the strength for the future, right? Sometimes when you are doubting about yourself and the capacity that you have to deal with an issue or with your next step in the career and so on, look back, right? And find the energy and the strength because you have achieved so many things. So find there, the certainty that you are capable to go next. That to me is a piece of advice that works for me. Sometimes when I'm afraid or maybe, scared about a new challenge and so on, I try to look into the past and say, okay, let me find, in my files of the past, how I did it, and I find the strength there.
Thank you, Sandra. Excellent learning there. Florencia?
Well, I would say to simplify due to the time, 3 things. For me, it's important to be visible, something that has helped me in my career. Be visible, speak up with determination, being confident of yourself, and be yourself. Bring your best selves in everything you do. And last point that is embedded in everything you do, moving forward, is be generous. Open doors for others to come in.
Absolutely. 100% agree on that one, Florencia. Luli?
So, you see most of the women drop the career ladder in their early management roles, right? And basically it's a time when they're getting married, beginning to have children, and they think that they won't be able to juggle it all, and they decide to take a step aside, and many times they don't return. For me, the most important lesson is that it can be done. But it does require a few things. First, it requires passion for what you do. Work takes too many hours of the day, and make sure you are investing that time in something that you really love, that you would do altruistically, that inspires you. If you do something you love, you're probably going to do it right. And if you do it right, opportunities will abound. So that's kind of, the passion is fundamental. The second thing is set up a strong support system. Mariana was alluding to that. Whoever is around you should respect you, admire you, support your career trajectory and growth. Life has too many ups and downs, and a support system that is there for you. It can be your husband, it can be your partner, it can be anybody, or it can be your parents, whoever is there. They have to be there with you through thick and thin, and of course you for them. So they'll always help you overcome the downs and further enjoy the ups. And the third point is own your own career. So embrace challenges, projects, everything that will take you out of your comfort zone. Those are the ones who that will make you grow more. Connect broadly within the network, seek mentors, earn sponsors, but most importantly, enjoy every minute of the ride. And, I have the honor of being happily married for 27 years. Like Maria said, I have 4 children. I have a career that I'm super proud of in a company whose values align seamlessly with my own. And all I can say is it can be done.
Excellent. Well put, Luli. I definitely share the passion point that you made with you. If you enjoy what you do, things will come. So thank you for mentioning that. And last but not least, Maria, I would love to hear, what is that one lesson?
You know what? I'd say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So what you've learned, who you've touched, what you've impacted. So enjoy that journey. Being your authentic self, loving to learn. I think especially you guys, we're living through the 4th industrial revolution. You have got to learn, you've got to be creative throughout your entire career. And as Luli said, grabbing those stretch assignments. When somebody touches you on the shoulder, it even, and women do this a lot, we're nervous. Oh, I'm not quite ready. If somebody sees something in you, go for it. you know, so always grab those stretch assignments, is what I would say, Maciel.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing those lessons. Definitely a good takeaway to close the panel. I do have one more question. I promised the audience some Q&A. I know we don't have time for everything, but I do want to ask at least one question given the time that we have. So the question is, I have it on my phone, so I'm going to be looking down, and it says, representation matters. How are you hoping to support other women from your leadership position? So I'm going to leave it up to who wants to answer that question.
Maybe I can answer because I have a specific example. Yeah. So we are working in the Colombian healthcare sector with a group of women with an initiative called Empodera, right? So basically what we want is to support other women to achieve the career goals they want, right? And they aspire to in the healthcare sector. So this is a great initiative because we have women from the healthcare sector, not only the pharma industry. And we have been, trying to donate time to mentor people from other sectors, from other companies, donating these hours for mentorship. Now we are doing a study with the PNUD to visualize the situation in Colombia. And we are also at this moment preparing a number of courses for the nurses, because we have found that this group of women are really struggling, always in the same position, and we want them to have more leadership positions. So that's a specific example, and I have another one that I love that is working with Florencia in Pharma. So I think it's how we work, how we complement each other,
Yes.
and try,
wonderful
to add instead of compete. That's an example.
Wonderful experience working together. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I really honestly say this, I really wish you had more time, and it's been such a phenomenal moment to listen to you, to learn from you. We talked today about mentorship, about sponsorship, about organizations, about the secret sauce. We talk about so many things that are extremely important and extremely relevant for everyone to take into consideration. So I want to thank you again for being here. I want to thank you for taking the time to open up and share with us. I'm going to repeat this, your role model to us. We look up to you, and this is very inspirational for all of us. And I hope for the audience that you have found this session insightful, that encourages you, that inspires you to learn from this exceptional woman, not only woman, but leaders within the healthcare industry, and also that encourages you to continue to foment the growth, personal and within your organizations, whether that's healthcare or anywhere. Really, it's really important all around the room. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Honored to be here. Good afternoon to everyone. I hope everyone enjoys their evening. And thank you, Alejandra, for helping me coordinate this.
It has been
Thank you, Maciel and team. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.